What's going on, everyone? Welcome into the Week 4 recap of the CFP After Dark. Let's first, this has been already this season's crazy. Hey, let's give a shout out here really quickly. Kansas 4-0, unranked. No love for the Jayhawks. I guess they're number 26 technically with the most votes received, but those damn voters, I'm telling you, they hate the Jayhawks. Let's bring in the knuckleheads here, though. First, we're going to bring in the man himself, Tony. How you doing, Tony? I think you're muted, Tony.
How you doing? Sorry.
That mute button, it gets you. And we're going to bring in Hunter, the Alabama guy. What's going on, Hunter?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
It's a good week for you, right?
Yeah, roll tide, beat Bandy. So Arkansas next week. So we gotta chump up some bacon bits.
Oh gosh.
That shouldn't be too hard.
Well, then we got Jordan. A little stressful weekend for him, I think.
What's up? Yeah. As you can see, if you haven't been able to tell, I've aged about 50 years in the span of 2 days. So I think I'm eligible for Social Security. I don't want to go through that again. That was stressful, but hey, a lot of positives, a few negatives, but all in all, just glad they won.
Will Shapley looked good.
Yeah, Will Shipley played really well, and DJ had the best game of his career. So
the season is young. Let's see how more you age this year. Yeah. It's young still. Let's go with Notre Dame, he's got to be happier this week.
You're muted, Will.
Will has had some mic issues today.
You're either muted or something's not connected.
I've been having trouble with my Yeti today, but very happy. I finally got to enjoy a game. I mean, we went down 7-0 and I was nervous, but we turned it around, got a big win. Our offense looked really good. Our passing game looked better. Our running game looked better. And our defense was good. Even though, Drake May, he's a great quarterback for UNC. He threw 5 touchdowns against us. Credit to him. But,
he's already, through 4 games, he's already 20th all time in passing touchdowns for UNC already. So that tells you all you need to know about the numbers he's putting up.
Notre Dame's most valuable coach of the week, Gene Chizik.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that situation later on, I'm sure. Well, let's bring in our other USC guy because I know he's very happy tonight. Also, we got Tim as usual.
Yeah, very happy. We're number 6 in the AP and number 2 in the one that really counts is marks the countdown of what really matters. So I'm really happy now.
Look rough early on, but y'all came along.
I haven't got to watch Marks. I was going to, and I got distracted earlier, so I'm behind on that one.
That's must-see TV.
It is. Right. Mark Rogers every weekly top 25 that actually makes sense. As long as we're number 2, we'll take it.
We keep moving on up. We're 12 now. Woo!
Oh,
top 15 teams.
Go Taters.
Go Taters.
Well, let's get in here. Let's go Ty guy. We got the other Bama guy going on.
How we doing, guys?
Oh, your mic is doing something weird.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the same thing as earlier. Exit out of stream here. Yeah, he'll come back. We had this issue earlier. He just has to come back in. But while we wait on Tag Guy to come back in, we got Brandon over here.
What's going on, fellas? I'm not on a milk carton unlike some other fan bases like West Virginia, just saying.
He might be the saddest member of this cast right now, though.
No, I'm good. I self-medicated, and I'm completely good to go.
There we go. All right, let's bring back Ty Guy here. Let's see if this audio is fixed now.
All right, how's that?
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, a lot better.
All right.
That's weird.
All right, guys. What do we want to talk about tonight? Because right now we have looking at the lineup of initially what's your takeaway so far this season? What team do you think that was most overhyped this year? Who is underperforming? Like, who are the frauds of this season so far?
Miami for sure.
Yeah, Miami is my first. Yeah, is my first go-to. Just, I mean, they lost to Middle Tennessee State. I don't. It doesn't get much worse than that. Just considering the expectations, Mario Cristobal coming in, the hype coming in. They argued was a top 10 quarterback. They thought going into the year. A lot of talented pieces on defense. The only real question for that team was did they have any real wide receivers? And through 4 games, that answer is no. But yeah, it's just not working. Something about that offense it's not clicking. They benched Tyler Van Dyke and Jake Garcia came in and he looked a little bit better, but there's still a lot wrong with that offense. They really can't pass the ball, despite how good and how experienced their offensive line is. And they tried to get transfer help at wide receiver, and it's just not clicking. So I'm really interested to see how this Miami team responds to this loss moving forward, because this is not how we envisioned the Mario Cristobal era starting.
But the thing with Miami is they actually kind of regressed from the A&M game to this game. I mean,
yeah.
So instead of getting better and working on what they did wrong against Texas A&M, they just went ahead and did it even worse this week.
I would say another fraud that's I think a really big one is the entire Big Ten West, whose name is not Minnesota.
Yeah.
and how about a shout out right now to Dave. Dave, I didn't realize you were a Golden Gopher. Your Golden Gophers are ranked. Yeah, they should have been, and they're looking good. So
they're good.
Ski you ma, row that boat. And thank you for helping the channel, by the way.
Well, it would be like them losing to Middle Tennessee State would be almost like Alabama losing to Vandy.
Yeah. I mean, it's that talent, disparity. Yeah.
I'm also going to throw a shot at Jordan here and say Clemson's defense, the first real offense they played, and they give up 45.
Oh well. I mean, I can't really give much of a rebuttal. They did not.
I'm just messing. I know you guys had key injuries. I know there's a lot working against you.
Well, I don't want to make excuses for it. The thing about that game is, you can talk about the pieces that Clemson was missing, but at the end of the day, that was about as bad of a performance from a secondary that I've seen in a long time. And I felt like Wes Goodwin put our corners in some really precarious spots. He played a lot of man coverage when it was clear we couldn't cover Wake's receivers, who, granted, Wake, I don't know if people realize this, but Wake has one of the best wide receiver rooms in the country. I'm not saying they're Ohio State, but they are up there. A.T. Perry, Keyshawn Williams, Donovan Green, Taylor Morin. That is a experienced and really talented wide receiver. Jamal Banks, I didn't even mention him. He had 150 receiving yards. He ate Nate Wiggins' lunch money. He took Nate Wiggins' lunch money. So it was a very, very poor performance, regardless of putting it into context or whatever.
When Will Shipley can score a touchdown, crawling down the field in a one-handed side plank position while holding the ball with 2 defenders sitting on top of him, it's hard to deal.
That was pure heart. That was pure heart, pure effort. Because the offensive line didn't even block that play very well. He had to bounce it outside, and he got hit
a one-arm side plank.
Yeah,
with 2 guys on top of him, continuing to advance yardage. It was one of the most amazing things I think you could possibly do.
And Jordan, it's weird that they had you had your corners on islands. When you have that, I can see a lot of teams they can't get a pass rush, but you have that defensive line. You know what I mean? So I don't see why you shouldn't have you should have your corners on islands like they were. Did they give any reason for that?
Well, it's how Clemson has defended Wake Forest slow mesh in the past. So basically, we would line up in a bear front, and we would have our 2 linebackers as extra ends. And so, and then just leave our corners on islands. And because Wake Forest slow mesh is so slow, Clemson was basically playing it like a run defense, but their interior pass rush would get there before Wake could get rid of the ball. And that's how Clemson would play it in the past, because that, it really blew it up and they really didn't have an answer for it. But this year, Wake's offensive line really protected Sam Hartman a lot better than they have in years past. And, when you're not, at your best in the secondary by any means, that is a recipe for disaster. As bad as the corners played, some of those throws that Sam Hartman made and some of those catches those wide receivers were making, those were just, elite plays. And I think that's kind of been lost, by some Clemson fans just because of the overall poor play. But there were some pretty incredible throws that Sam Hartman was making, and those receivers are really, really good. They're going to give a lot of teams trouble this year. So,
well, thinking about other frauds here, and because we got Will, who's got to be very happy this weekend. What about that UNC defense? The Chiswick effect.
I mean, it was very it was pretty easy to push around in the trenches, and we were also pretty much able to get it to Michael Mayer whenever we wanted to. So we could just run it, and they couldn't stop it. And also, they couldn't stop Michael Mayer. I mean, one time they just left him wide open in the end zone, which made it a lot easier for us to score points. So
it looked like Michael Mayer was the whole offense. So as long as you can keep him healthy and keep Chiswick on the other sideline, I think you guys will have a good season.
Lorenzo Styles is also really breaking out as he's really our biggest deep threat so far. So, and he's only a sophomore, so I'm excited to see what the numbers Lorenzo Styles can put up this year.
Sorry, I'll put my phone on mute. Clemson and Wake Forest just scored again. My bad.
I think it's clear that if Mac Brown stays at UNC, though, after this season, the Chiswick experiment has got to change.
What happened to Chiswick, though? I mean, Chiswick was at one time a top 5 defensive coordinator. And I know we're going back, 8 years. Did his time away from the game and being an announcer, did he kind of forget what he was doing? I mean, because I don't like Gene Chiswick because he was from Auburn, but I mean, the guy could coach. And I mean, the guy had always good defenses. And if you look at North Carolina, they gave up 40 points to Appalachian State in the fourth quarter, and then they just let Notre Dame go wild.
Well, I think if you go to a booth and you come back with the same philosophy, the game has already passed you by.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to think. The game has changed, and maybe he didn't pay attention to it, but it's different than when he was being a DC before, or even a head coach.
Yeah,
it's just different.
Well, I think there's something to that, but I also think, and what hasn't been talked about enough is, I just think that UNC's development, just defensively has been really, really poor. You look at that UNC defense and the guys that are on that roster. That is a very talented defense, especially up front. There are a lot of guys that were coveted by everybody in the country. Guys that Clemson and Ohio State and Alabama lost out on.
The real Miles Murphy.
Gotta pause for a second. I agree 100% with Jordan. I want to bring this guy on before he gets annoyed here in the background. But Jordan, you're 100% right. But is this also a Mac Brown issue then? Because look at Texas, he had talented guys, and they stopped developing. Oh,
well, I think
welcome back. Shit, my bad.
I think with Mac, the thing about him is he's getting older. I don't know if he has the same stamina that he had back when he was the Texas head coach. And I've always been a guy to defend Chiswick, but it's getting harder to defend him with his defense. I mean, apparently he's watched the game because he's been an analyst. So it's not like he doesn't know what college football is currently today. So I don't know what to make of it, of how he's scheming and developing players.
I don't think it's all Chiswick. I think that the UNC's players are not as good as, or aren't playing nearly up to their talent level. That's just me personally. No, I followed a lot of those guys' recruitment. Some of those guys Clemson wanted, and they just have not performed. And it wasn't just, this isn't a Chiswick thing. This was UNC's issue the past couple of years. The defense underperforming. UNC has recruited really well, and they've really increased their talent profile. But the quality of play through several multiple coordinator and staff changes has been the same. And it hasn't, been up to standard, of what you would think, considering their recruiting rankings coming out of high school. So, I certainly think it's Chiswick has a hand in it, but I also think that UNC's defensive players just, for whatever reason, don't play all that well.
Well, how is it that NC State is able to not really recruit as well, but they're able to? It seems like they're able to develop better.
Better coaches.
UNC is doing.
But better coaches. Dave Doran, as much as I crack on Dave Doran, he clearly has an established culture there. I mean, he's been there a long time. But he has a staff of guys. They're really good talent evaluators. Like you look at some of those guys on NC State's defense, especially. A lot of those guys weren't highly recruited. Guys like Tanner Engel and Peyton Wilson and Shaheem Battle. Like, those were not like highly 4 or 5 star guys. These were guys that have they've been in the program for a long time, and they were able to mold them based on different physical. They had to have the athletic traits and stuff, but they were really good talent identifiers, and they really developed that talent and worked them and molded them into a really good college football player. And that's not what UNC is doing. So that's really the difference between the two programs right now.
So I guess what we need to look at too is, I don't know if you guys would consider this also a fraud, because they just have a good win this last weekend, neutral site. What do you guys still make of Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher?
All offense, no defense.
Right now.
All offense, no defense. Or all defense, no offense.
Well, I'm also a Florida State fan, so I watched Jimbo through his years at Florida State and what he was able to do there, and the transition over to A&M. And he has all the talent in the world, even on the offense. But I think that his offensive system is outdated, and he needs to take that playbook that he got now and rip it up and throw it away. Because if he's going to continue to be the head coach in the SEC program like A&M, he's going to have to establish a different scheme on offense, or he's not going to survive A&M. Because
that's something people have pointed out before, is that Jimbo has a very complicated offensive play scheme and playbook, and maybe he needs to simplify it.
It's the same.
Well, and the problem is it's complicated, but it's also has to be exactly on time. So if that receiver is a half a step, it's not going to work. He needs to bring it back, simplify it. And the other problem with Jimbo is, like we're talking with other people, he doesn't develop a quarterback. He can get the talent, but he doesn't develop a lot of the talent. And the problem with Jimbo is, and it's going to happen this year, they're going to lose 4 games. I mean, he always has a problem beating teams that he should beat. I think he coaches sometimes to the name on the jersey across from him.
Well,
I don't know. My take is after we. Sorry, go ahead.
It's the same playbook that he had since he first started as the head coach at Florida State. And you're right. It's a totally complicated offense. And he's always been that way. That's the same offense. So go ahead.
I was going to say, after we sat and watched with Traveling Fools that ridiculous yell practice thing that they do, and that was some of the strangest stuff I've ever seen, and I can't look at Texas A&M the same way again.
Whenever we tell a bad joke, I want to kick our. So on the show from now on, if we tell a bad joke, we're gonna kick our knee up and lean back like that guy does. Because that was really impressive. That was really impressive.
Yeah. Well, what the hell was all that?
Hanky panky. Whatever he said.
Yeah, it was the weirdest
That
thing.
was Little Rock. That was Little Rock.
Yeah.
That's right. That was his name.
Think about all the talent that they have and all the resources that A&M has. There's no reason why they shouldn't be able to develop talent on the offense. There's absolutely no reason, and at quarterback as well. I mean, there's absolutely no reason. I mean, they bought Jimbo there on a very, very expensive contract. They've invested in their facilities. I mean, there should be absolutely no reason why they should be able to develop better at the quarterback position than they have since Jimbo's been there.
Yeah, there's no way they should be. Appalachian State is a great story. They're having a great season. There's definitely some players there. But with the talent that they've recruited, there's absolutely no reason why they're not blowing out everyone on their slate, the first three. Quite frankly, even including Miami, they should be handling with the level of talent that they have. And they really just haven't. And they're getting points for the win over Arkansas, which is a good win, conference win. But even Arkansas is struggling with struggling with Mississippi State, Cincinnati. They're struggling in these games, and you think SEC, these guys want to talk about that they're going to recruit the level, well, especially A&M. If you're going to recruit at that level, you need to play at that level. So there's definitely a coaching and a development issue going on over there. There's no doubt about it.
That's why Sam Pittman's so good, is because he's able to come into Arkansas, change the culture. He's got great offense, and he's got great assistants, and he's able to develop. It's not about, that the talent roster differential between A&M and Arkansas is pretty big. And
yeah, I don't want to downplay what Sam Pittman's doing, but you struggle against Mississippi State. I mean, they win by a touchdown or 10 points. When they win, they didn't win by
Mississippi
much.
State is hold on. Mississippi State isn't a bad team, so I don't think they're a bad team, but
it's not a bad team, Jordan. But you shouldn't. Do you think that a team? We're going to talk about them as we talk about the SEC, like put them on a pedestal. And so, if we're going to talk about teams like that, shouldn't they be taking? Imagine if they have
very similar talent profiles. So I mean, it doesn't surprise me that they played them close.
Missouri State is similar to an SEC level.
I think you said. I think you were talking about Mississippi State. I thought you said Mississippi State.
I misspoke. Sorry, Missouri State.
I was like,
big difference there. Yeah, big difference.
Well, my bad. That made
okay.
Well, you had a couple of
different. That's different. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, no, Missouri. So I'm so sorry. I probably did say it. Missouri State.
Well,
I don't say Missouri State very often, Jordan. That's what I'm saying. But I don't even know who your mascot is. You shouldn't be winning by a touchdown or 10 points. That's
right,
kind of my point.
I think we all are agreeing A&M is been overrated. Until they prove something, they're in that very overrated stat line. But we want to also shout out Erica. Thank you for the contribution here. That MSU team is embarrassing. Just throwing it out there. That could be another on the is it a fraud list, because MSU has looked absolutely like a dumpster fire the last couple of weeks, especially.
Yeah, those are two huge contracts we just talked about that aren't paying dividends. The return on investment on the last two coaches we just brought up, all that money is kind of
$9 million from a year.
Between them.
I'm severely disappointed in Tim right now that he didn't know that they were the Missouri State Bears.
I'm sorry.
I actually have a good childhood friend that's on the basketball team in Missouri State, so go Bears.
But anyway, cool. Erica, go Hawkeyes! Thank you for the donation, and thank you for the follow. Appreciate it.
I'm not defending that game. What I'm about to say, I'm not defending that game at Arkansas. But you had Bobby Petrino, who's the head coach there, and his ties to that Arkansas program. I think that could have had some to do with the dynamics of that game. And, they should have dominated them for sure. But I think that kind of might have played into it a little bit.
Yeah, Mark, I think they took advantage of the lack of capability of the back end of Arkansas's defense. They have one of the worst pass defenses in the nation.
That's true. That is true. I really, the way Arkansas lost this game, you got to feel like Arkansas probably should have won this game, just based off of how that game was trending, and then just that was one of the weirdest field goals misses I think I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen somebody kick it off the top of the goalpost. That's a new one. So I don't know.
I think
I'm not.
once that, I think to be fair to Sam Pittman and Mel Tucker, we gotta wait for them to like bring in like whole teams of like just their recruits. I don't know. I don't know. I like both of them, and I feel like they can do well once they
Well,
have a full team of
well,
their
what did they lose? What did Michigan State lose last year? They have a lot
Kenneth
of seniors.
Walker.
Their running back. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Will. I think both teams last year overachieved, and so the expectation this year maybe was too high. But with Mel Tucker getting that type of contract, it was kind of like, you've got to keep this up. You know, that I think that's the biggest one for him. Not so much Sam Pittman even.
But I think Arkansas is gonna whip BYU, and then they're gonna be feeling a lot better.
I think
That's gonna be a good game for
fight
them.
against Bama. I think it will be Bama's toughest regular season test. Like I still think they'll win by 2 scores, but I think it'll be close heading into the fourth quarter.
I said before the season started that if Alabama loses an SEC game, it would be Arkansas. I really felt that before the season started. I feel a little more confident the way Arkansas has played the last couple weeks, but they are a great running team. So I mean, they're not terrible. They should have beat Texas A&M. That field goal, they would have won. So I think Pittman will have Arkansas maybe second, maybe third in the conference when it's all said and done this year on the West. But I can see Arkansas giving Alabama headaches for a little while next week.
Well, I think that going into this game from an Alabama perspective and from an Arkansas perspective is Pittman's going to be telling his team all week, you should have won that game. You should have beaten A&M. Now let's show everybody that you can hang with Alabama. And on the flip side, Nick Saban's going to be telling his players that, look, now everybody's talking about Arkansas. So now you've got to show up and show out, on the road. And he's got to he's going to hold them to be accountable to do this and bring up that Texas game and not to make the same sort of mental errors that they made in the Texas game. So this will be a redemption from a bad road game. So I think Alabama wins by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, we hear enough about Alabama everywhere we go. I just want to say real quick that One Scoop John said he's checking in from the hurricane prep. Hope we're all having a good night. Hope everyone stays safe. You included, John, from the pending hurricane that may hit Florida. I hope all stay safe and come out unscathed.
Absolutely.
Sorry, flipping screens. So who else do you guys have on top of your head that's a fraud, a fake? Who's disappointed this year that maybe you thought would be better? Sorry, Will.
Michigan
I'll tell you a team
State.
that's really being disappointing is Iowa's offense. I mean, they played in the Big Ten championship last year. So I mean, they were expecting big things, and that offense is going nowhere quick.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I heard it. I'm not sure I heard it right, but I was listening to Corey's show today with the coach, and someone said that they did not attempt a pass to a wide receiver until there was 3 minutes left in the third quarter. Can anyone in Iowa that really would know that, verify that? Because that seems to me almost an amazing stat in the 21st century.
Yeah.
So, that's alarming. I mean, I guess that means they might be throwing to tight ends and throwing to backs in the back out of the backfield, but that's a pretty amazing stat if true.
Because I think everybody in this room or on this call would agree that defense of Iowa, if they had any offense whatsoever, they're a top 10, top 15 at the worst team. I mean, that Iowa team is good. They've got special teams,
they are.
they got defense. They just do not have an offense.
Yeah. Well, which is why I wouldn't really consider them a fraud just because we knew already they couldn't score. I mean, this wasn't anything. I don't know. Like, I don't know if there were any like high expectations for Iowa's offense. I guess It just depends on how you look at it.
Yeah, and Mark pointed that out. He says Iowa's offense was 121 in the nation.
All right, they've been bad. So
we talked about it earlier too, Jeff. You take Iowa and then you took something like Purdue or Wake's offense, you'd have a killer team. All Iowa needs is a top 50 offense, and they would be a dangerous team. But they just cannot figure it out for some reason. I guess it's the Ferentz effect, I guess.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, if they were 120th or 121st last year, and I know it's family, but Iowa, he kept his son as coordinator. How do you not fire your coordinator? I mean, as a Power 5 team, there's 68 other Power 5 teams, and you're below all the group of 5 offenses. You got a problem.
And Erica brings up a good point.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, Erica's bringing up a good point. That's right. We'd be a top 10 if we had a decent offense. Our D plays our offense. And the problem is with that is again, you have a situation where Mark just brought up that there hasn't been a top 50 offense at Iowa, but yet Iowa's still competitive. So there's no doubt the offense is pulling the load. I'm just like, what is it? Who can tell me why Iowa cannot get a top flight quarterback? Why? When was the last time Iowa had? Someone help me out. When was the last time Iowa had an NFL quarterback that was drafted, maybe first, second round?
CJ Beathard, maybe.
Yeah, Beathard was third, I think.
Well, first or second round, day one selection.
You're going back to Chuck Long.
It's got to be. It was Chuck Long was. I think there's got to be one after that.
That was maybe it was draft pick.
The first round draft pick. No, yeah, probably.
Yeah, no, that's why I went back that far. If a first round, but they had a guy named Banks that was drafted.
Brad Banks.
He was a Heisman finalist. So
yeah, I mean,
hard to believe. And Ferentz was the coach then. So
right.
Drew Tate was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, like you said, Iowa's been bad, so it's not too big of a stretch that they're bad on offense this year. And everybody keeps on bringing up Michigan State, but then again, I would ask, besides their running back, who did they? It makes me think that they lost a significant portion on one side of the ball as far as seniors go to make them to where there's this big of a drop off.
Really, I think a lot of people expected Michigan State to kind of take a step back, especially, in some ways, defensively. Well, honestly, on both sides, just because you lose a running back like Kenneth Walker, it's hard to replace that. You addressed your needs pretty well in the transfer portal, but there was still some excitement because Peyton Thorne was solid at quarterback last year. Have some talented wide receivers coming back, and it just was not. It just has not really, come together like people thought they would. And they were returning the nation's worst pass defense. They went into the transfer portal to address that, and that's not gelling.
No.
So,
yeah. Are they still one of the worst in the country right now? Because I'd have
probably.
I think Michigan State jumped the gun on giving him that big contract. That's just me. I mean, I like Mel Tucker, but I just don't see why they think they justify giving him that much money this fast.
Well, they gave him the money because they didn't want to have the Saban effect.
Yeah.
They didn't want him to bail on him like Saban did.
Which is exactly what probably would have happened because the vultures were circling to take him away.
They got the guy they wanted, and they were like, we're going to pay whatever it takes to keep this guy here. So no one else can because they didn't want to have a relapse.
Name another top flight coach that's going to go into East Lansing and coach that team.
Good point.
Thank you.
Well,
Tony, you take that statement sitting down.
Well, let's not act like Michigan State is some podunk job. It's a
Michigan State's a great job. The problem is Michigan State is which is just a pain in the neck place for them traditionally, and this has been for many years. Actually, they are a phenomenal launching off job for someone going to LSU, Alabama, somewhere like that. And so it's really hard for Michigan State because they're on the verge of having their dream coach, but they haven't done the type of like dollar investment. And there's one of the guys who was a walk-on their basketball team when they won the national championship, is now a like billionaire, I think mortgage company CEO. And he was like, we're not doing that again. We'll just pay him the money. And they are happily paying him the money.
I mean, I'm not saying that Mel Tucker is going to be a bad coach.
He's done great for them. I mean, they were not in good shape when he came in. He rebuilt them instantaneously overnight. So they're not quite where they were last year, but they're certainly doing better than they were before he was there.
Or could it be a better use of the talent that was already there, like we've seen with some other teams?
No, because I don't know if you follow Michigan State very closely.
He completely overhauled.
They completely overhauled the roster. Very similar to what Lincoln Riley did at USC. Just a massive overhaul of the roster.
I got a question for y'all guys. I don't know the answer to it. Maybe y'all can answer this. If a new coach takes over a program, right, and there's guys on that team, or there's guys that are committed to that program that he didn't recruit, does he still have to honor that commitment?
You have to sign.
No. So actually,
they don't.
He's not required
the
to.
rule is that if there's a new coach, the kids can leave and transfer free, or there is a special provision if there's a new coach, they have to honor the scholarship. So the kid has to continue to receive all the scholarship, receive all the benefits, all the tutoring, all the athlete advantages of everything, but they can be taken off the team. So there are actually some kids still at USC, for example, that Lincoln Riley was not interested in having on the team, but they freed up roster slots. They continue to be USC students. They'll graduate from USC.
I didn't know how that worked. And that's always been an interesting thing I've always wondered about.
That's an interesting question.
But by getting rid of those players, they didn't get extra recruiting slots. Now they could fill them with transfer portals and that, but there is still a number. Every year you can only have so many recruits.
Yeah, but it does free up the scholarship slot, so that made a big difference.
That is an interesting question because when you go into the whole roster spots, all that stuff, that's a kind of complex, especially when you're opening spots, dropping players, moving coaches. I think we've covered our frauds. What are we talking about this week with the upsets? What are we looking at with Oklahoma and Kansas State?
Well,
but is it shocking when Kansas State has a history of doing it?
Yeah, not that big of a shock.
How many times does Kansas State have to win in Norman before it's not news?
And Bowman, you brought the big. I like the point you made, Jordan. You made the point. You said that Venables has always had issues with dual threat quarterbacks. Can you expand on that?
Well, yeah. I mean, just going back to his. Really, you could go back to his time in Oklahoma, but just from my personal experience, just his defenses have always had issues, handling, dual threat quarterbacks. He never really figured out Lamar Jackson when he was at Louisville. Everybody remembers that 2016 game. Clemson won, in thrilling fashion, but they had no answer for Lamar Jackson. He ran all over that Clemson defense. It wasn't even close. Like Venables got out coached that day, and you go back to other guys like Malik Cunningham last year ran all over us. So the two Louisville guys, Justin Fields, even though he was hurt, he had a phenomenal game, especially passing. But he also had that dual threat ability. I'm trying to think. There's plenty of examples.
You won the game, Jordan, but Jalen Hurts ran all over you guys.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts.
But you guys came back and won that game.
Yeah, what Wet Blanket said right there is news because the defense was supposed to be better. Says who?
Media? No, also, you guys, one thing. Wet Blanket. Sorry, go ahead.
Are we listening to Big Game Boomer here?
They played nobody. Who's the toughest team they played? Nebraska?
But here's my point also. It's only game 4. You know what I mean? People, all you guys have played defense before, right? It takes time to learn a system. You can't just, sure, you can go to camp and do this, but this is game 4 of a new system. Guys are learning, his system. It's not like you can just switch on and be ready to play. It does take, there are some hiccups.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
a lot of people got to realize that what you're going to see some growing pains, this defense. Venables, if anyone's saying he's not a good coach is crazy. This is going to be a good defense. They are recruiting lights out in Norman. This is going to turn around, but you can't switch a light. You can't turn a switch, and all of a sudden you got a top 5 defense. That's
it didn't happen when he came to Clemson. It was we hired him after Clemson hired him after the 2011 season. 2012 there was noticeable improvement, but it was still that 2012 Clemson. I think it was like a top 70 defense. So it was like average. And then, 2013, it still wasn't much better. I still remember giving up 51 at home to Florida State. That's still one of my most painful memories as a fan, in a top 5 matchup, no less. And so it was he didn't really put it all together until his 3rd year in the program.
But Jordan, Big Game Boomer made a list and he told us it was going to be better.
Oh, well,
there was a list on Twitter.
Wait, hold on a minute. Tony, you're still following that guy? What's wrong with you?
No, I muted him like forever ago. I'm being sarcastic.
He shows. I don't actually follow him, but his lists always show up in my.
Yeah, the best thing you do is mute that nonsense.
Yeah,
I'm being sarcastic, but that's about the most reliable source that actually thought that team was going to be better this year than they were last year.
Yeah.
Oklahoma, that team has a lot of growing pains.
Oklahoma, Baylor, Texas fans, your whole season's in front of you still. I'm not sure if any of you guys thought you guys go into the playoffs to win the national championship this year, but okay, so that may, it's still not, but might be gone. But your entire season is in front of you still. You still can win the Big 12. I think the Big 12 is wide open. One loss is not going to keep you out of the Big 12 championship.
At this point, 2 losses might not keep you out of the Big 12 championship. The conference is wide open.
Yeah,
in a good way.
And 2, to Tim's point a little bit here, we got to remember these are 18 to 22-year-old kids. I think we put some unrealistic expectations on some kids just because they were 4- and 5-star recruits at a high school. And we got to also remember that Venables is the head coach. He's not a coordinator anymore. So it's not like his whole entire focus is going to be on that defense.
I don't recruits in most classes are offensive players. Like they really only recruited like top offensive classes, not defensive classes. Their defensive classes are probably pretty similar to like an Oklahoma State.
I don't know how much longer we can say that anymore. It's 18, 19, 20, 22-year-old kids. You can't put it on. Now the NIL is a part of the game. They're paid athletes. They're paid to do it. But I ain't saying all of them, but how much longer can we say that?
With the Kansas State,
you can pay them. It still doesn't
change me right now on my avatar apparently, but with the Kansas State thing, look, it came down to it was more how Kansas State had just lost at home to Tulane the week before. Tulane's no joke of a team, but then Oklahoma shouldn't be losing to Kansas State for the 3rd time out of 4 or 5 years.
Well, I thought by BYU logic that makes Tulane the champions of the Big 12, right?
Well, I guess Southern Miss they beat Tulane.
Southern Miss is now the Big 12 champions.
And don't forget, Tulane was in the SEC at one time.
Long time.
Exactly.
All right. Well, let's keep it in the Big 12 then, and D4 will.
Really quick, Ben, really quick. Thank you, Lemansky, for $10 donation. It's possible recruiting at Michigan State for the state for in-state talent against Michigan. Wicked. I should get some. I have my glasses on. Someone's got to read for me.
Is it possible recruiting at Michigan State for in-state talent against Michigan? I assume that's just supposed to say Michigan, but I'm not sure. Can both programs be elite in the same year? If Saban stayed at Sparty, what would the story be?
Saban was doing great with Michigan State.
You have to assume Saban would have had a championship. He's done it everywhere else he's been. There's talent in the state, and Michigan State have both been really good at the same times many times.
Yeah, and they pull out of Ohio a lot. They get a lot of players from Ohio.
Hey guys, I've got to run, but I appreciate y'all having me on. And
hey, Hunter, roll Tide.
Roll Tide, Hunter.
All right.
I will never say that ever.
That's an interesting question. I mean, it's all hypothetical because, yeah, what would have happened? Would it have been the same Saban as he is now? Or, yeah, that's ooh.
I don't think he's recruiting.
I'll be honest, he wouldn't have been the same Saban for two reasons. Michigan State would have never gave him the control that Alabama gave him and LSU gave him. And two, the recruiting in Michigan State, even though it can be good, is not as easy as it is in the SEC, at Alabama with all the talent surrounding him.
Yeah, he would not be the same Saban in Michigan State. Not even close.
I think that's fair to say. Let's look ahead really quickly here. Not look ahead so much, but D4. Let's go ahead and talk about your Longhorns and Texas Tech.
I don't see how this is a shock. It's Texas doing what Texas does. Nothing's changed.
Yeah, it wasn't a dig on you, but we were in the Big 12 talk already, so we figured we might as well go.
Yeah, they had the lead, can't hold it, can't make adjustments. Same old story, different time, different coach. Like I said, nothing much has changed with the program. Texas is going to do what Texas does. People can throw their horns down. People can act stupid in the comment section about, they're overrated, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. That doesn't bother me. I know what my team is.
What can change
Can I ask you a question, D4?
To answer Will's question first, what can change? Adjustments. Just make simple adjustments to what your opponent's doing. And go ahead, Tiger.
I like Sark. I'll be the first one to say it. I kind of had hoped that maybe he would be at Alabama long enough if Saban retired, because I think he's a great coach. He went in there and he blew it last year, 5-7, and I mean that don't happen at Texas, and I know that brought a lot of people, mad.
But
is he in trouble if he doesn't win more than 7 games this year? Do you think, honestly? And would it be fair? Because I don't think it'd be fair to not give him more time. But I wanted your take on it.
Yeah, what has he proven? That he can go 7-9 at Texas in a year and 4 games? He's absolutely proven nothing. He does not hold his coaches accountable. They do not make the adjustments necessary to keep a lead in a game. He proved that last year. Everybody was beating their chest, not me, about them making adjustment this year in the Texas San Antonio game. That's UTSA. We're supposed to go out and out-athlete them anyway. But when it comes to a team that you're their Super Bowl, you can't just come out flat. You can't coach scared to lose. You have to make the necessary adjustments to win the game. And he come out and went 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out in the second half. That's not going to win you ball games.
Right.
When the best back in the country touches the ball 17 times in a game, you have a problem.
Wait, so hold on. So Brennan, you're saying it's back to the Saban car wash for Sark?
If he doesn't make changes soon, it may be.
Yeah,
and
you sound like you're really down on him.
That's sad to say. I'm really rooting for Sark to get it together, but like Drew 75 said, McGuire coached to win that game for Tech. He went for it on 4th downs. They were 6 of 8 on 4th downs. Their quarterback that had been handing the ball over to defenses all year long played like a Heisman winner, and our defense made him look like a Heisman winner.
I mean, look, I'm going to speak because Tony and Tim especially have a good connection with the whole Sark thing. For me, myself, at Washington, he was a good coach, but not like an amazing coach. It was Washington. Then he went to USC. He had his personal issues, but didn't do anything there. got rehabbed by Saban. It's just kind of repeated. But Texas is, as me and JW were talking about, Texas likes to chew up coaches and spit them out if they don't do what they want.
The thing with Sark is he was recruiting very well. Matter of fact, all those guys that Helton won with in 2016, 2017, those were all Sark guys. They won with. It was more than just personal issues. The man had some serious substance abuse problem. He had a really bad substance abuse problem, and it's hard for me as a fan to say what kind of coach he was when. Again, that's a bad demon, the bad monkey to have on your back, and I don't know what he would coach like, or how he would have done at USC if he had been sober. So it'll be interesting to see. Again, Texas. Again, these programs that dig a little bit of a hole for themselves. Everyone wants everyone to be a quick fix, dug out, and it's all fixed. And we got to remember that's just not how football works. You do sound down. I mean, adjustments. Making adjustments, right? D4, making adjustments. Good coaches can do them regardless of personnel. You will see some changes made, but it sounds like it's not working out. And I know you watch it more than anybody.
I'm not saying put his head on the chopping block. Let's go to the guillotine now. You know what I mean? Or the guillotine, whatever you want to say. But what I'm saying is you have to prove something. You're 7-9 in a full season in 4 games. That's not going to cut it. And, beat a team like Texas Tech, that maybe they have a better team than everybody suggested. But still a game you're supposed to win. You're not supposed to be little brother in your own state.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think, Sark's his substance abuse issues was.
Wait, you think Baylor's not good? I'm just kidding.
His substance abuse issues were known, and he's recovered, it seems, luckily from that. So that's good for him. But Texas is tough to coach at. I mean, let's put it that way. They haven't gone along. If things haven't gone well, they have chewed up their coaches. But Corey has joined in the show here. We're very honored to have Corey.
Someone set up the bat signal. We were talking trash about the offense.
Yeah.
Pretty much. That's why I think.
Will's eyes just lit up and his jaw dropped. Oh my God.
How you doing, Corey?
I'm hanging in there, and I of course I was just meandering my way over to Mark's channel. I forget you guys have this show at night on Sunday night, so keep up the good work. But I did hear. I just tuned in for a moment and happened to catch you in the middle of a conversation on Iowa, and I just wanted to clear something up. So I don't know who it was that said this, but there was one target for an Iowa wide receiver in the first half yesterday. There was not another target to an Iowa wide receiver until the fourth quarter. And there was one catch for an Iowa wide receiver, and it was a 5-yard reception. Now, with that being said, run game was better. They did involve the tight ends like you'd expect an Iowa offense to do, which they've not been doing. But the lack of wide receiver involvement it's alarming. But that's nothing new. We've talked about the Charlie Jones situation. You look at what he did last year at Iowa, which is basically nothing on offense. That's an indictment on coaching. And so anyways, I just wanted to clear that up, that there was one target for the game, I believe, if I'm counting it correctly. I have the official stats in front of me. I believe 4, let me get back to that page here. 4, I believe. Where did the number go? Here it is. Arlen Bruce, 1 target. Brody Brecht, 1 target. Nico Regani, 1 target. Yeah, so actually 3 targets to wide receivers for the game. So, it's a problem. And I think it's funny that Will keeps smirking over here. Mr. Notre Dame fan who was all full of himself before the season when I went after the Irish. And who have they lost to? Marshall, and probably should have lost.
You didn't believe in us this week, Corey. You didn't believe in us this week. I looked at your pick.
They should have lost to Cal. They should have lost to Cal.
They should have.
Go Bears.
As bad as Iowa's offense is, Will, their special teams unit would not allow them to lose to a Marshall. Just remember that.
Special teams is better than last year. I mean, it was more our offense was the problem.
That is not a good excuse.
Special teams also wouldn't allow them to lose to an FCS school either, would they?
Hey,
No, we
Corey,
don't
can I
know
ask
that.
you a question? Can I ask Corey a question?
Yeah, and I have one when you're done. Go ahead.
Hey, Corey, I don't know how long have you followed Iowa football?
I've been here in the state of Iowa my whole life. I mean, as far as being a fan, I mean, I've been a fan since I was a kid. But yeah, I've been around Iowa football my whole life.
One thing that I find funny, I lived in Mattard, Iowa for a small period of time. That's between Ames and Des Moines.
Yep. I live in Ames, so I know exactly where that's at.
Yep. No, I lived in Mattard for a while. And the one thing that I think is funny with Iowa is one of the best athletes they ever had, Hayden Fry recruited. He was a quarterback out of East Waterloo, and they made him a kicker and a punter.
Who are you
Do you
talking
remember
about?
who that was?
No, who are you talking about?
His name's Reggie Roby. He ended up playing in the pros for 15 years, but he came out of high school as one of the best quarterbacks, but they had Chuck Long and they made him a punter.
Well, I think in hindsight they made the right decision because Reggie Roby's one of the best punters to ever play. But
oh yeah, he made millions of dollars in the NFL. Where if he would have been a quarterback, he might have played a year or two.
Right.
You know, kind of like Long.
Yeah, and I mean, I would much, as you know, I would much rather even be a kicker or a punter than a quarterback in the league, just from a health standpoint. But
exactly.
But yeah,
but I didn't know if you ever heard that story or not.
Oh yeah. Roby is he's on Don Patterson's favorite list. Him and Mike Cyphers. If anybody knows who Mike Cyphers is, he was a kicker. Well, punter. He was actually a punter at Western Illinois under Don Patterson, and ended up being a darn good punter in the NFL. But Don tells a story of him coming into I think it was an FCS playoff game and kicking like a 63-yarder for a win. But yeah, those two guys are kind of legendary in Don Patterson's book.
And I got a question for you, Corey. Was there any fallout or humor or comments or even off the record or whatever people were saying about the Bob Stoops cameo video?
I mean, there's not really fallout. It's just it's whoever paid for that to happen. You know, I don't know if I have a hard time believing that, because you know that Fran McCaffrey, Iowa men's basketball's coach, also had a cameo. I mean, it was the same thing. They got Bob.
Oh yeah, and I mean I know how cameo works. So like those guys are paying no attention to like the subtext.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Do you
think it was intentional?
No, I don't think it was intentional. The Fran McCaffrey one seems really odd. I mean, he mentions Brian going back to New England and your dad loves you and all this. I don't know. I mean, he's got to be pretty naive to not recognize this. And you got to keep in mind too, Fran's got two kids who are not only on the basketball team, and Connor and Patrick, but they're very into Iowa football and they're very active on social media. So I guess it's possible that Fran did this without his kids knowing, but it's a very embarrassing situation if it was unintentional. I don't think Fran did it intentionally, but it may have been a tongue-in-cheek type thing where Fran realized what was going on but knew he could get away with it. I don't know. I don't know Fran well enough. I wouldn't think he'd do that, but I honestly really don't know how Brian Ferentz is perceived among other. I mean, I think Kirk Ferentz, there's no question Kirk is well respected among the entire athletic department. I do wonder how people perceive Brian from the outside looking in, just given his track record, and he's had some character issues over the years. He's involved in a lawsuit right now. He's got players suing him for racism, so he's got some baggage. So you just wonder if there was some tongue in cheek there. But yeah, I got a kick out of it. I can tell you, I got a kick out of the Bob Stoops one. And when I first saw that, I and hopefully everybody who's listening knows what we're talking about. When I first saw that Bob Stoops cameo, I about fell out of my chair because I thought it was legitimate. I thought I literally thought someone got Bob to just say, "Who cares?" Because I'll be frank. I mean, I heard, I said this months ago. I heard Chuck Long. He was on an Eastern Iowa radio station back in March or April, and he didn't hold back. I mean, he laid into Brian. He laid into Kirk. He called it nepotism, which it is. We all know that. But for Chuck Long to go on the record and do that, it just tells you that he's fed up. And Bob you got to realize Bob is a huge Hawkeye fan. And I've had people laugh at me when I've suggested that Bob Stoops would probably come out of retirement to go coach at Iowa. I believe that if Kirk Ferentz, and call me a homer all you want, this is I'm not the only one who feels this way. If Kirk Ferentz retired tomorrow, I think if Iowa made a concerted effort to pursue Bob, I believe Bob would coach here. And I don't know if there's other jobs out there that Bob is interested in. I know, there have been reports from the Kentucky media that there's a clause in Mark Stoops' contract where basically he's able to go to Iowa. Like that's the one school that he's easily able to leave for. So the Stoops brothers love Iowa. And so you have to think that as much as Bob Stoops respects Kirk Ferentz, and he does, I mean, those guys, I mean, I've never heard Bob Stoops say a bad thing about Kirk. There's no question that being a former player and a former Iowa coach, that Bob is likely very frustrated with what's going on here. And all the Boomer Sooner stuff is fine. I mean, he's a huge Oklahoma guy, understandably so. But he's, I think, just like Brett Bielema and just like, like I said, Mark Stoops and a lot, even Barry Alvarez, those guys, I'd like to think those guys are Hawkeyes at heart. So, yeah, it was entertaining, and maybe someday we'll know if he had an idea what he was doing.
So I know the alumni obviously aren't happy with what's going on, and I know that Kirk has a lot of influence in the athletic department. Is there any chance that the alumni can make a push to get Kirk out and put Bob in? Is there any chance of that happening?
When you say the alumni are upset, that's not really accurate, Will. When you say the alumni are upset, there are people who are upset, but Kirk, I mean, look, they just went 10-4 last year. They went 10-2 in the regular season, won the West. I'm not saying that I am not defending the offense at all, but you got to realize they went 10-2 last year, won the West. This year they're 3-1, with their one loss being to Iowa State. So until they start losing games because of the offense, I mean, it doesn't matter how ugly these wins are. In Iowa, we love the hashtag punting is winning. We love the hashtag a win is a win. That's what we live on. All right. We live and breathe those terms. All right. We literally make shirts with an outline of the country of Australia that says hashtag punting is winning. All right. So that's what we're proud of. That's what we take pride in this state. And that's part of that is the alumni base. And part of that is just the paying fan base that are, I mean, you got to realize they sold out Kinnick Stadium. Iowa sold out every game in Kinnick Stadium this year. And it was sold out, I think, before we hit August. And that's following a season in which they had the 123rd ranked offense in the country. So until people start saying, look, enough is enough, they're not to that point. You got to realize that. They're not to that point, and I really don't think that's going to happen. I'm not advocating for it to happen. I love Kirk Ferentz, but we're not close to that. There's no pushing Kirk out of here. I do believe that if the offense is terrible throughout the rest of the year, which at this rate it's on pace to be every bit of terrible, then you're probably going to have a change, because I just don't know how you can. I don't know how you can continue, and I don't know how you can rationalize keeping your coaching staff the way it is if you end up with the 131st ranked total offense in the country.
And
Tim, real quick, Tim, I have a question for you. There's this Corey guy is saying words. Punting is winning. Coming from a world of Pete Carroll and Lincoln Riley, what do those words mean?
I put it up on the banner below just so everyone can make sure.
Is that Latin?
The only thing I took out of it is Iowa fans are used to ugly.
Well, I'll just say this, and just so you know where I stand.
Corey, I'm just teasing, by the way.
Yeah, you're good. I just want you to know where I stand on this. So I love Tory Taylor. Like the kid is, he should be in the Ray Guy conversation right there with Adam Korsak. Everybody was joking around about Rutgers, Iowa being the battle of the punters. Those are two great players. One of you guys just brought up Reggie Roby. I mean, punting is a big part of the game, and Reggie Roby is a legend. But when I had somebody, I won't say who, but I don't follow a ton of people on Twitter because I just don't care, and I hate to see a bunch of homers tweet about Iowa football. And let's be honest, a lot of people who are in the media are homers for their teams anyways. But somebody tweeted out something about punting is winning this week, and I immediately unfollowed them. And that's what I've decided to do moving forward. If anybody wants to post something about punting is winning, they're immediately getting on my block list because I can't take it anymore. I don't know why we're proud of it. it's just frustrating that you're proud of that. And again, you can enjoy what Torrey Taylor gives and what LeVar Woods on special teams is doing, but I don't believe that's you should be proud of that. But that's the problem. There's a precedent set in Iowa that we're proud of these things, and you guys are laughing at them as fans of guys like Pete Carroll and these offensive gurus across the country, and rightfully so.
Well, thank you, the real Hayden, $5 super chat. Fun fact: all three Stoops brothers wore 41 in Iowa, and they buried their father with their 41 jersey when he passed away.
I did not know.
Awesome.
I did not know that. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. And by the way, the real Hayden, you're always on all of Mark's channels. You're awesome. Go Hawkeyes! And I want you to know we think about you and Corey when we watch Iowa, and hope that you guys win for the sake of the fans.
Absolutely.
Well, as you guys know, I'll say one last thing and then I'll get off and you guys can continue your conversation. Just so you're aware from the outside looking in, because you're looking at college football as a whole, understand that heading into this year, before we even looked at this offense, the 2022 version of what is supposed to be an offense, we understood that the month of September was a month where you had to go 4-0 to have a legitimate shot at going 9-3, which was my preseason prediction, because I bought into the defense and special teams. And again, I think I was right on that. The defense is number one scoring defense in the country right now. The special teams unit is, in every aspect of special teams, they're elite. But they had to go 4-0. They go 3-1. And, you're talking about 131st ranked offense through games against South Dakota State, Iowa State at home, Rutgers, and Nevada. And just keep in mind, October and November loom. You've got Michigan at home, Ohio State on the road. You've got Wisconsin at home. You've got Minnesota on the road. You have a trip to Purdue. And then, of course, you have an Illinois team who I think is better than people think right now. And so, what are the automatic wins you have left? Northwestern, probably Nebraska. So you get to 5 right there. But I'm telling you, any one of those games after that is, you could almost say, a pick 'em, or Iowa's the underdog in almost all of them. Maybe they're the favorites against Illinois, but I tell you, they're going to be even again. I know Wisconsin look good right now, but I think Ohio State's going to make a lot of teams look pretty bad. And Wisconsin plays defense, especially against Iowa. They own that series, so buckle up, because we talked about losing happened to come for change to be made. I hope that's not the case, but Iowa could be experiencing more losing than they're used to.
Hey, Corey.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for talking about Mark Stoops, because the last couple of days I've asked everybody on this panel and on many shows, if Kirk Ferentz does decide to retire in the next year or two, would Mark Stoops leave Kentucky to come to Iowa? Because I think that's the only job he would leave Kentucky for.
Yeah, I think he would. And like I said, I if you're Iowa, and I've made this very clear, and I've had people, Mark and I have talked about this. I've had people rip me for, why are we even talking about the next head coach? I think it's a valid conversation to have, but my number one priority is Bob. You have to reach out to Bob, pursue Bob. They had an opportunity. Most people know they had an opportunity. You know this because it sounds like you live in the state of Iowa. They had an opportunity at Bob in '99, and if anybody knows the storyline with that, very easily could have been Bob Stoops at Iowa the last 20 years.
Yep.
He ended up going to Oklahoma and winning a national title. But I think you pursue Bob. After that, I think you leave the door open for Phil Parker. I think Phil Parker's more than deserving what he's done with this defense. I don't know that he wants to be a head coach. I doubt he does. He's getting up there in age as well. And then I believe Mark Stoops. And after that, it might be a crapshoot. Maybe Brett Bielema. I think some fans would like to just kind of be done with the Hayden Fry tree, as much as everybody in the state loves what Hayden Fry did. And Don Patterson's part of that coaching tree. But at some point, you have to make the best hire out there. And I do believe those 4 guys, Bielema, Stoops, and Parker, are 4 of the best candidates you'd have, period. And they all happen to have strong Iowa connections. So, yeah, I think Mark, from everything I've been told, Mark would absolutely leave Kentucky for Iowa. Don't you think there's a ceiling on what Kentucky can do in the SEC? I mean,
yeah, and I think he's at that ceiling. You know, I think
Yeah.
10 wins is where he's going to be.
and it's only going to get listen, it's only going to get tougher. It's only going to get tougher when those, with new teams joining and divisions changing and whatnot. So I would not be surprised. But again, Kirk Ferentz just signed an extension through 2029. I don't believe he'll fulfill that. But boy, this is a very, this is a very pivotal year, because if the offense is ranked 123rd or more, I just don't know how you can move forward with Brian. And then what reason does Kirk have to stick it out if basically the ship has sailed on Brian becoming the next head coach? I just wonder how long Kirk will stay here, because I think to some extent Kirk said when he got hired, he said he did not want to be here as long as Hayden Fry was. And Hayden Fry, was dealing with cancer before he retired and whatnot, but he kind of worn out his welcome with a lot of fans. Kirk said a long time ago he didn't want to do that. So I don't know if Brian ends up leaving for another job because he's kind of embarrassed and he doesn't want to ruin his dad's legacy. Then what does Kirk do? How long does he stick it out? That'll be an interesting situation. Now, Kirk does, one other note, Kirk has his son-in-law as his recruiting coordinator. Now, he could go anywhere and be probably a pretty good recruiting coordinator. He's doing a good job. Iowa's actually had some good classes here these last few years. But my point is, it's not just Brian. It's a family business. As John Rothstein would say for basketball, it's the family business here in Iowa. All right, guys, appreciate it, man. I figured I'd jump on here briefly because I heard you talking Iowa, and we had our show with Coach. So if anybody missed that show, swing on over to the Iowa channel and check it out.
Definitely do check out Corey over there. He does great work. And Corey, you can come on here anytime you want. There's no we love having you on here.
I appreciate that, man. We'll talk soon. Yep.
Thanks, Corey.
Thanks, Corey. Always fun.
Thanks, Corey.
Well,
take care.
Later, Corey.
So thank you, Shoelace, 999, great supporter of all the shows I know about. Appreciate you all for doing the show. FYI, I was having issues with Super Chat. Figured it was not showing up with the VPN on. Thanks again, Shoelace. We appreciate all your support.
Yeah, Shoelace does support a lot.
And by the way, don't stress about Kansas State. You guys have a really good team. They're going to keep doing well.
They're going.
You got to give them time. Yeah. Like we said, just give them time. It's game 4, new regime.
Let's hit the
I believe in BB
for the super chat really quickly too.
And also, by the way, Kansas State, not a bad team. Like, they're a good team.
Can we talk about Adrian Martinez and how low he was when he? I mean,
hold on. Let Ben address the super chat.
Okay,
yeah. Thank you for the contribution. Also, recruiting up 4-0, not about turnaround, and go Noles. It's not about turnaround, and the Noles are ranked this week, so they're going in the right direction at this time. You got to wait the rest of the season and see how it plays out, but they're going in the right direction right now.
2 ranked matchups in the ACC. What? Oh my God! Whoa, it's crazy.
All right, Tiger. You
but seriously, I can't think of the last time like the ACC has had 2 ranked matchups in the same week, which is sad to say, but because I think they only had one last year. I think State and Wake was a ranked matchup, and that was the only time. And before that, I mean, there were a couple in the 2020 season, like Notre Dame and Clemson.
Yeah, Notre Dame and Clemson.
And Clemson and Miami. But like that was there was a few that year, but everybody's rankings were inflated because not everybody started at the same time. But the point is, it's been a while since there's really been a healthy group of ranked teams in the ACC, and there is that now. So
we feel your pain, Jordan, over here on.
I don't care. As long as Clemson's one of the ranked teams, I don't care. But it's still noteworthy.
Well, before we go on, Will, let's do that. Let's backtrack just a tiny bit to Oklahoma and Kansas State and Adrian Martinez, because I think Will is going to point out. You take it away, Will. You brought this up. You take it away.
I mean, I felt like he had a lot of brutal games for Nebraska, a lot of brutal interceptions. And just to see him being free of the Scott Frost, and all of like all that drama, and just to be happy to play football again and to be able to have fun and to play the way that he did against Oklahoma. Like, I'm just happy for the guy because like Nebraska fans, like they made him a scapegoat for so many of the losses, and for him to just be the hero over Oklahoma, like I'm just happy for the guy because he seems like a good guy and all. So I'm just happy he was able to have a shining moment, win the big game.
Well, and it was a big weekend for him because it was a good game. And then he also got his double ARP card in the mail on Saturday. So
That's true. That's true.
Adrian at Kansas State looks like a grown ass man.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, how long has he played? Is this like 7 years?
He's been a starter since he's been a starting quarterback since 2018.
Yeah, he's 5-year starter.
Yeah. So yeah, he's been around a while.
It is good for him, and that's what sometimes where people say people just need a fresh start once in a while, because I mean, as people who follow college football at all, whenever you hear Martinez and Nebraska, you go, how long has he been there? But that's because they have two different Martinezes, of course. But it just seemed like this 10-year system with the Martinez quarterbacks.
Yeah.
We kind of touched on the whole Wake Clemson thing, and we got our two Trojans in here. I'm gonna let them gloat all they want because they broke those poor Beavers' hearts last night or the other night.
I'm not going to gloat. My hat goes off to the Beavers. They came up with a great game plan on defense, and they had the secondary to execute it. And it really gave our offense from receivers. You hear the receivers talking about it. They all gave the Oregon State secondary credit. Jordan Addison gave them credit. I heard him specifically say it. They had these long, rangy, fast receivers that were playing they had corners that were long and rangy, and they were playing our players really tight, and they were doubling Addison and just giving Williams fits the whole night. I like the fact, though, that our defense did respond. They gave up some yards, but not a lot of yards, and we won this game with our defense. There's going to be times where our offense is going to sputter, and it did. And if you'd have told me we're going to hold the Beavers to 14 points, 7 points. I think Alicia she broke it down. She said 7 in the first 3 quarters and then 1 at the end of the game. If you told me through 3 quarters we would give 7 points up to the Beavers, I wouldn't have believed you. So it was a great team win. This time in the past, it's been all Caleb Williams just outscoring everybody. In this game, we had to rely on our defense, and Grinch, the defense, stepped up. So it was a great win. But again, I'm not taking anything away from the Beavers. They're a great program. They should have been in top 25, and I still believe they should be in the top 25.
Yep.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Caleb Williams not throw for over 50% of his passes?
Yeah, he was under 50%.
Yeah,
he was off. That part is true as well. I mean, he did have an off night. Like I was throwing things. I was bounce passing. My pen across the room. I was taking notes just so he was bounce passing, throws the guys in the flat. So yeah, he was off. But again, that's going to happen some nights. You know what I mean? And the fact that we had a good team win. Everyone always talks about the offense, and then it was really cool. Tony actually reminded me after the game. The reporter walked up and started talking. So, in the fourth quarter, I started talking about the offense. And he goes, well, hold on. This is all about the defense. Let's talk about the defense because it was a defense that won that game yesterday. And so,
Alex Grinch made his money last night.
The only thing I was disappointed. Oh, sorry.
Was that D4?
Oh, that's the only thing I was disappointed in is you broke your streak of games with sacks. I know that you guys had 4 interceptions, but getting pressure on the quarterback, you guys were living in the backfield. 2 5-sack games and a 4-sack game.
Yeah, again, you have to give credit where it's due. Oregon State's for real. They got some. They've got some. I think it's development, right? Because these guys are 2-star, 3-star guys, and whatever Jonathan Smith's doing down there with their development on the lines, both lines, if you look also, their D line was in our backfield quite a bit. And I think USC has proven with their O line's actually legit this year for the first time in a long time. So sometimes it's about, you can go ahead and say, wow, you struggle against Oregon State. I said at the very beginning, Matt Zemek at Trojans Wire said in the very beginning to Mark, on their show on Tuesdays at 1:00, he flat out said it. He's all, I'm looking at that game up in Corvallis. That's going to be our first tough test for the Trojans. And, this team went up there and they responded. I was really losing my mind. I was like Jordan Bowman in the third quarter. It was the same thing. I'm thinking, wow, this is exactly the recipe on how we're going to lose. And you just have to credit Jonathan Smith. You got to credit their entire team. And at the end of the day, for the win, we have to credit our defense. And I'm glad. I mean, sometimes you need to get knocked down a peg, right? You're reading your press clippings, you're believing all that rat poison, and you're going into this game thinking we're the number 7 team in the country. We're going to walk in here and win. We're going to play a tough team in Washington State next week, and then we'll be on the road. Then we have ASU, not a tough team, but then we're on the road to Rice-Eccles. So this game right here is going to pay dividends down the road, saying that we can go into a rough environment. There were only 26,000 fans there, but they were loud, raucous, everything. It was really a test for this team. I'm excited. The defense, I was talking about the Oklahoma. You got to give the team time because the first week, second week, this gets Rice. This is against a bad Stanford team. And we were getting gashed for 40, 50-yard runs just left and right if you guys watch those games. But slowly over time, those run fits get fixed. The coverage gets worked out. The communication on the back gets a lot better. And defense takes time. So we've been lucky that we've had kind of each game has been a little bit tougher, a little bit tougher, a little bit tougher. And then we had a tough road challenge here, and the defense stepped up. Tony, what do you think?
Yeah, I really think they needed that test. I think that was part of the growing process with the new coach, new team, new system. I mean, you guys have to remember, to USC, every single kid on that program is new. It's a new system. It's a new everything that's come in. To the staff, it's new teams, it's new locations, it's new everything. And they went on the road in a really, really hostile environment that is, the curse of USC historically, and they came out with a win. And just absolutely, kudos to Oregon State. Oregon State should absolutely be ranked. I was so annoyed this morning when I saw that Oregon State wasn't ranked because Oregon State deserved to be ranked. That's a great team, and I think they're going to win a lot of games this year.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, unless you're like taking the number 1 team in the nation, and almost beating them, maybe should have beat them. It's hard to get into the top 25 with a loss. But Tony, they should have been in there.
They should have been in there before then. Yeah, I mean, Oregon State's a great team. Chris, who you guys always see on our Pac-12 shows, who's awesome, has been. He and I are in agreement that Oregon State's one of the best teams in the conference. Jonathan Smith is one of the best coaches in the country. I mean, this is a really great team, and he had 2 great teams, I think, that went at it, and one of them won. And I mean, it says so much that these 2 high-powered offenses were stymied by each other's defenses. The crowd was going nuts. I mean, Lincoln Riley was sort of laughing. He said, I've never been in an environment quite like that. I mean, they had half a stadium that only holds 27,000 people, and it's probably louder than Nebraska with 90. So it was just a wild, wild place, and it was a wild game for the ages. And that's probably the last time that USC is going to play Oregon State for the foreseeable future in football. And it's kind of sad because there's so much wild history between the two of them, going back 70 years. And so
they possibly cost USC 2 national championships.
Oh, they've absolutely cost USC at least 2 national championships, probably more like 4. And again, kudos to the Beavs. So I'm on, as long as they're not playing the Trojans, I'm on Team Beav because they deserved everything they get. And they deserve to be ranked. It's a great team. Go Beavs.
Definitely.
Indeed, go Beavers. Because look, I mean, that was my upset pick of the week, and Beavers came so close. But I think we're gonna look back at this later in this year and realize USC that was a very, very hard fought quality win. The Beavers not being ranked 2 still this week, even after that, is it's absurd. They got like 16 votes in the poll. They're getting no respect. The Beavers deserve more. It's a great win by USC. I'm not going to touch on. I'll touch briefly, like for 30 seconds, maybe on the Duck game because I'm the only Duck and there's no Wazoo fan here. USC, yeah, watch out for Washington State. they're for real. We went out and they punched us in the face. And just like Tim said earlier, When a team does that and your team survives and manages to come back and win and hold on, that says a lot about the growing of a team. And I think that's the one thing I'll take away from the Wazoo Oregon game this weekend was we got down and they fought back. So we'll leave it at that for the Ducks.
I would like to say though on Wazoo, they are Oregon State. They deserve to be ranked also.
Yeah.
I truly believe both of those teams have a legitimate gripe. They should both be ranked in the top 25, even though they both lost this week.
No, they should definitely.
Wazoo did something I hadn't seen anyone do in the Pac-12 since Chip Kelly. If you want to talk hurry up offense and USC, Tim and Tony, and Lincoln Riley will be paying attention to it. Wazoo is running hurry up faster than I think we've seen in probably over a decade in the Pac-12. They will run it and use it to their advantage. So that's something to be leery of because it caught us off guard quite a bit in that game. I know that we have Dustin here, and let's talk about Michigan and Maryland because we've kind of touched upon it briefly, but now we have Michigan guy in here. Dustin, what do you think? Michigan, impressive, not impressive? What was your takeaways from that?
Okay, well, I'm going to go and say not impressive, but we needed that game. We needed to be behind and get humbled because, we put up 50 points on 3 teams right in a row. Obviously, there were 3 high school teams, so not much there. But again, Maryland, just like Oregon State, they deserve to be ranked too, in my opinion, after what they did to us. Because our defense is good, even though they exposed some things. I mean, at the end of the game, we were shutting down their our corners were shutting them down. So, JJ, obviously, I think we all saw. If you watch the game, we saw that he still needs more room to grow. He just looked a little jittery, like JJ last year and all this year so far, except the Maryland game, has been hitting those deep passes like right on the money, and he missed I think he missed 4 or 5 right off the bat, and then he finally connected with Ronnie Bell. So it was a scare. I mean, I was sitting on my chair with John, like we were both. Well, I don't know about John, but I was sitting in my chair, like I was getting worried for a second. Well, not more. Second, I was getting there for about 3 quarters. Like, oh shit. But I don't know. I think Michigan needed that, and the coaches better get on their asses. I saw a lot of horrible tackling by Michigan. Almost remind me of some Don Brown days. And then our offense, same thing, remind me of some Josh Gaddis days where we're just running the ball 3 times in a row right in the middle. Like, what are you doing? You get to chunk plays, throw the ball. But I think on it, like I'll keep saying it, we needed that game. We've got some film. Tide Guy has said it too when we were watching that game. Michigan kind of needed that because now we got some film to look at. We needed an offense like that to look at because that's what we got coming up. I mean, Iowa's not going to run that against us, but still, it's going to be growing pain sports, and we will grow from it.
What did everyone else think? I didn't get to actually watch the game myself. I saw all of the highlights. Maryland looks pretty legit.
Definitely. I think
takeaways.
Well, honestly, my takeaway is kind of on all the teams. Really, I've said this before. I mean, Maryland looked really good, and we've already said Oregon State looked good. There's a lot of good teams in these conferences, and I think there's going to be some spoilers. I mean, you even look at, we talked about Arkansas a little earlier, and I think a lot of people worry about 30-point wins. Well, we got to beat this team by 30 and that, and then they get into a game and they struggle a little bit and everybody gets down on them.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes a team to struggle a little bit to show where they're vulnerable and get tape on them so they can improve.
Exactly.
Because Michigan had that Rutgers game last year. Like, they didn't look good against Rutgers, but then they improved enough to be able to beat Ohio State.
Yeah. Oh, was I gonna say? Oh.
But yeah, that game just kind of confirmed what we, for me, it just kind of confirmed what I thought about Maryland's offense. I mean, they're really talented. I mean, and those receivers are really, really good. Probably only, I mean, I wouldn't put them, behind anybody but Ohio State's really.
No, I would say too. I can't pronounce the dude's name. Tulia, whatever.
Tulia, yeah,
Tuglio. He's got at least 3, if not 4, NFL wide receivers, and that I'm not even talking like these wide receivers. Not even talking about his tight ends. And then So,
yeah, I saw Raheem Jarrett in high school, and I knew that guy was going to be a star. Man,
Yep.
He's really good.
Well, that was a great Michigan talk. Thanks, John, for joining us, but we're done with that segment. Let's move on.
John, oh no,
John's in here. We got to let John get in here too.
come on,
Yeah,
John.
I mean, since we're talking Michigan, I figured I'd stop by and say hi. You guys are doing a great job.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, so a lot of thoughts on that game. I agree, Dustin. We needed that adversity. We needed to put stuff on film from a real team. And not only did Maryland's offense impress the hell out of me, and I felt Loxley executed and a really strong game plan. Talia was just money. Their running game was money. And on top of that, their defensive game plan was strong, because what they did was they played zone and they actually tried to take away the deep ball, which is part of the reason why JJ was having trouble. Now, did that excuse all of the terrible deep balls? No. But you got to give credit to Maryland. And I think I give far more credit to Maryland than I do not credit to Michigan, if that makes sense. Because I think you're going to see Maryland go 9 wins, 10 wins. And I know that sounds crazy right now, but wait until, just follow me till November. Watch this space.
Well, John, I'll say what, the next 4 games, well, the next 5 games, the next 4, they're going to win the next 4, I bet. I'll put money on it. Then the 5th game is Wisconsin, and we learned what Wisconsin did yesterday with Ohio State. I think Maryland will beat Wisconsin, so I'm going to say, Maryland's going to go and win the next 5 games they have.
Yep. Yeah, Penn State and Ohio State look like the scariest games for them.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. Same with us.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
So what I'm gathering is I'm going to jump on the bandwagon. If our team lose to another team, they should be ranked. So Texas Tech should be ranked.
Yep. There you go.
Even though they lost to NC State.
I've been saying this since week 1. These rankings, these weeks right now, we're just finding out what our teams are. The first 3 weeks, nothing. First 4 weeks, I mean, you're starting to get a feel. Let's wait till week 6 or 8 until we really get into these rankings. I mean, yeah, let's throw all these guys in there. Let's throw Oregon State in there, Maryland. Let's throw them all in there. It doesn't really matter. The only thing that really matters is about when we come to week 8. That's what we find out who is really legit and who isn't. Because none of it's going to matter. Like
Uncle Rico is saying suddenly Maryland is a world beater. Michigan fans were predicting putting 50 on them. Yes, I was. And I was also predicting Maryland to put 30, 35 on us. So wrong on both counts. But yeah, Maryland surprised, I think, a lot of people.
I think you're muted, Tim.
Oh no, sorry, I was talking to someone else. Yeah, but the issue, but actually, I do have a point. The issue with the whole ranking thing is you're right. If Wazoo is who we think they are, if Maryland's who they think they are, if Oregon State's who we think they are, it will all work itself out, like you said, by week 9, 10, 11. But you have to remember that you get a lot of recruiting juice. That people are going to realize that, and for a school like Oregon State and a coach like Jonathan Smith, it would help to be able to walk into people's to talk to recruits and say, hey, we're a top 25 team. We're building somebody here. It's my 5th year. We're already doing this. So it unfortunately does matter. The capriciousness of these voters. And I brought it up on another show. There's a guy in South Bend. Where are you? Where are you, Will? There's a guy in South Bend Tribune that has USC number 18 still. I mean, this is as of last week. I haven't looked this week. But last week they had him ranked number 18. Which I mean,
he didn't move it.
It's still 18. Just amazing. I mean, how that guy still has a vote.
That vaunted piece of journalism, the South Bend Tribune.
Well, there's a lot of people on message boards that work for Notre Dame media that don't like other people. So
it's NBC.
There's some beef.
But it would help. It would help these programs. It would help Maryland. It would help Wazoo. To like the programs are already recruiting well. It's really not that big of a deal. So doesn't matter where we're ranked now. Let's see where we're ranked. At the end of the year. But for schools like this, it does matter. There is a prestige level. It is the optics look great if you can say, hey, we're a top 25 team. We're having discussions. It gets you in the door some places. So
yeah, I get it. I totally understand that. I totally understand what you're saying there. And I'll say to that, like, you as a recruiter, you can go back and say, look, we held Michigan all the way to the 3rd quarter on their toes. Like, it's the number about ranking, like, oh, we're ranked 12th on week 4. Like, I think playing a team, especially a team like Michigan, Ohio State, big teams like that, saying that you held them, you came in on week 4 and you held them. Look what we did. Look, we need you in these positions so we can win this game in week 4. Who cares about the rankings? We need you to come. We need you to come help us so we can win this game on week 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever it is.
So who cares? Who cares? Recruits and their families care. That's all I'm going to leave it at. We can argue if you want. Who cares? They care. Trust me, they do care.
I agree with you. I'm just giving you a rebuttal.
Cade would have beat Maryland by 50.
Hey, it's about to be your quarterback, Will.
you Michigan fans in the comment section. I'm totally kidding.
Ooh,
but I'm not kidding about.
So there's a narrative going on with Notre Dame fans right now that Tommy Rees only works well with quarterbacks that are like him, and since Drew Pine is more like Tommy Rees, our offense is much better now than it was under Tyler.
Whoever's telling you that, just walk away. Come on, dude.
we don't even touch
you believe that stuff.
I love that video of Reese yelling from the box on the phone at Pine. I love that video.
And his QBR since then has been like crazy high, which is crazy. It's been so much better.
Will, let's see when he plays a defensive coordinator not named Chiswick, and we'll see where that QBR goes again.
Yeah. Where's Drew Pine ranked? Where's Drew Pine ranked, Will?
I'll go top 50 now.
Oh no! He's unranked.
All right. We're getting up here at time now, but we've covered a lot of the kind of upsets, so to say. But let's go through each team's upcoming games. Tony and Tim, you guys are playing Wazoo, right? Next?
No, I keep messing up.
Arizona State.
We're playing Arizona State. I got my head.
And then Wazoo.
Then Wazoo at home. Both games at home.
So you got a warm up game.
Yeah, I flipped them around.
Yeah, I mean the thing is like we as we always say, every Pac-12 game is a trap game. So anything can happen. But that said, Arizona State has looked pretty weak. I'm hoping this is a really good week for the team to get healthy. A good, if they can get a nice solid win, we really could use some of our backups to spend a lot more time playing because it's a new system for them too. And I mean, if we could get Miller Moss some quarterback time, I think that'd be really helpful. All of our players could probably use a little good times, and maybe get Jordan Addison some nice highlights in the process.
And fans say it like, "Oh yeah, we're glad you're that guy. The team's gonna play better." No team's ever played better with their head coach gone. I mean, this idea that people are gonna rally behind whatever coordinator or whatever. That I mean, someone could.
Well, with the possible exception of Wazoo last year.
Yeah,
they're about the only one when Jake Dicker took over.
But sometimes that has to do with it was a front loaded schedule. It got later on. So
it does definitely.
So I mean, just like with the Ogeron taking over USC, he won a bunch of cupcakes and then got smoked by Notre Dame and UCLA. So I mean, they're going to be a rudderless ship. I think that USC should be able to handle them. This is a team that lost to Eastern Michigan. So
Eastern Michigan.
I would hope that we would be able to beat them at home.
That did get Edwards, officially fired, whether just for reason or whatever. But I mean,
I thought that was coming though. I think Herm was going no matter what.
Oh, he was gone. I think that was
timing was
the final like, and you're done.
Yeah.
And I mean, Dustin, they're not gonna fire guys anymore at the end of the year because of recruiting, because of early signing day. You're not going to see firings in November anymore.
No. Well, because the other thing, guys, is part of the whole process now. I mean, the way that the recruiting of a coach really goes, there is all this back time stuff with the agents. Like this stuff takes time, and so they have to start earlier. I mean, USC talked about the multiple like consulting groups that help put together the PowerPoints and the pitch decks and everything else for the new coaches, and I mean that stuff all takes time, and they gotta do that quickly.
Well,
they don't leave that job open for a month anymore.
Well, and with all the turmoil that ASU has been dealing with, they just had to get out ahead of it immediately, and that was just that final point. Going, we're done. We gotta start looking for the future. But real quick here too, thanks Dave Valensky. Is Purdue's quarterback him out for the season, or at least for the Gopher game? I assume that's O'Connell.
And
O'Connell. I'm not sure if he's out.
I found it in I looked it up and I put it in the chat what I found on Twitter about it.
What was it, Will?
They're like not really sure yet. They're just gonna play it by ear. That's what Jeff Brom said about it.
Somebody needs to change the battery in their fire alarm.
That might be mine. Even though I did change the battery, that thing goes off like crazy. I don't know what the hell.
I don't even have a fire alarm.
We thank you, Dave, for the contribution. We appreciate that so much. But yeah, it seems like that's what I hear. It's just kind of if he's available, he'll be available.
Yeah, you guys, if you have any more questions, please get them in because we're about to wrap up. If you have any questions for us about your team, this is the time. I think, am I correct, you guys? It's about that time right now.
It's getting there, but we got to shoot here. Michigan, we got Dustin and John real quick. Let's look at what you got coming up. What do you think on your next game real quick?
Iowa? Well, we're going into game, so with that defense and the way JJ just played and the way our coaches are going to bring our guys back up, I'm going to say 38-3. Michigan.
Ooh.
Do you say 38-3?
Yeah. Ballsy. Bold call.
Yeah. So I did a little bit of, and I don't want to give too much away because D4 and I will do a video on it. But as much flack as Iowa's offense is getting or has gotten, if you do the side by side with like their best player on each unit, it's actually not that crazy different in some of these. So like McCarthy and Petrus passing yards are not that far apart. Corum, obviously, he has the advantage on running back, but there's there's more parity than you'd think when you look at the actual numbers. And I think that part of that had to do with these past 2 weeks. I think they've taken at least a little bit of a step forward on offense. Their defense is elite. We're playing at Kinnick. Things happen at Kinnick. We caught one break, and the one break we caught was that we get big noon kickoff. Okay, which is a huge break, because at night I would have predicted potentially an L. And I was very, very nervous about that game coming into this season. But with big noon kickoff, I think we pull it off. But it's probably not going to be the curb stomp that a lot of people thought it was going to be coming into this. So maybe 7-point victory, but I think we'll pull it out. But it's going to be one to watch for sure. More to come.
I think it's going to be a Mozzie Smith come out game.
I hope so.
Very different views on that game. Way to go, Michigan fans. D4, Texas, who you got going on?
Yeah, I want to first address Mr. Joey on a milk carton Foster. His comment in the thing. D4 seems really cheerful about just having lost to Texas Tech and having West Virginia on Tech, knowing that Texas is not as good as Virginia Tech. Well, let me tell you something, Mr. Milk Carton. I stay around when my team loses, just so you know. And that 450-pound toothless mountain mama is going to go back across the Blue Ridge Mountains, back across the Shenandoah River with a big fat L. Thank you very much. See you later. We'll see you in another 3 weeks there, buddy.
I forgot you were playing West Virginia this week. I should have remembered that. Joey shows I should have remembered that. I totally just skipped my mind.
In Austin, too.
Yeah, it totally just.
I love that one. That was great.
Although it was pointed out to me by Tide Guy. Is Tide Guy here? Oh, did he leave? Have you guys seen the really cool new Longhorn tunnel they've built in the stadium?
Yeah. We all know.
Yeah. It also is like a perfect diagram of a uterus.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind. Take a look at the stadium. You'll never see it. You'll never. Thanks, Ty Guy pointed this out to me. You'll never look at DKR the same way again.
Oh, Ty Guy points it out every week.
Yeah. It's definitely a uterus.
I'm guessing D4 is claiming a win for Texas.
That did sound like a win. Yeah, that sounded like a win prediction.
Yeah.
All right, Jordan, what about your Tigers? What we got?
Well, this is kind of the game that everyone's kind of been talking about on Clemson's schedule. Is like, well, this might be the game that determines the Atlantic. Of course, NC State is traveling to Death Valley for a top 10 matchup, as it turns out. College game day is going to be there in Clemson, South Carolina. I think this is the game that's going to decide the Atlantic. Personally, obviously, there's still more football to be played, no matter who wins this game. And Clemson, the interesting thing about this game is Clemson was in a thriller last week, and now they have to turn right back around and play a really tough NC State team who was got the best of them last year. And I'm really interested to see, especially how this defense in particular responds. I'm not nearly as scared of NC State's offense as Wake's. Frankly, I don't. NC State's receivers are fine, but they don't really have they don't really have an A.T. Perry or anything like that. So I'm not really worried about that aspect, but I am interested to see how this defense responds after a really awful performance on Saturday. And I do think it's going to be a much lower scoring game. I don't think obviously NC State's defense is really good, and I don't think DJ is going to have the same kind of success that the same kind of success that he did against Wake. So I think it's going to be a tight defensive game, kind of like it was last year. I don't think either quarterback is going to be particularly effective in this game, just because of the talent on both sides. But yeah, I don't expect Clemson to run away with this one. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. I think it's whoever makes that one extra play at the end of the day. But it's going to be a really good game. I am not taking NC State lightly. But I'll say, if I have to give a prediction, I'll say Clemson wins. They are at home. They're trying to preserve the longest home winning streak in the country. It's at 36 now. Haven't lost since 2016. So I think they're trying to preserve that. I think this team is going to come out playing with pride, and I think they're going to do enough to win the game. And I think they win 24-21 in a tight matchup. Maybe a game-winning field goal by BT Potter, something like that. But I think it's going to be a close game. I think NC State's good enough and experienced enough to hang around.
I think we're all looking forward to that game because it's a top 10 matchup this week. It's the only one I think this week, so it'll be interesting. We got to shout out LW for the contribution here. There's no message attached. I don't know if there was supposed to be, but there is none. But LW, you know we love you, especially D4. We're always here for you. Will, give us some brief rundown real quick with Notre Dame.
So we have the bye week this week, and then
Oh, we're done. Oh, all right, we're done. All right. There
That's an L. That's an L right there. I'm calling bye 28, Notre Dame 10.
It's not that bad yet. Jeez.
Notre Dame catching so many strays the last few weeks.
All right, keep going.
So,
keep going.
and then we have a holy war against BYU in Vegas. So that's definitely excited for that one. Gotta defend the faith. Defend the faith.
Yeah. Wow.
and defend the volleyball players. Defend the faith. So.
Jesus.
I like it.
Will got off a good one.
We'll go more into that.
Everybody, look out! Will got off a good one.
I like it, Will.
Oh man,
Will, Jason says that Notre Dame is 500 all time against the bye.
It's the bye.
Yeah.
there's a really good Catholic Mormon joke there, but I'm not going to take it. I'm going to keep it PG. I'm going to keep it PG.
I saw some debate earlier about who's the real Death Valley. I've had this argument, so many times, and LSU always comes with the same, the same argument. Clemson always comes with the same argument. It's going to get decided pretty soon because Clemson and LSU have a home and home in a few years. So I think, whoever wins that, I think that's going to, truly decide because neither team has ever played in the other's home stadium. So I'm really excited for that one. That's going to be good.
That'll be a great game.
Yeah, that will be a good series actually. And Will, after the win yesterday, having a bye week going against BYU on the road, I think that will be. I mean, it's in neutral sites, but it's it's Las Vegas, whatever. That's good for Notre Dame too. Kind of regroup and just kind of tweak some things. Alabama.
Well, I asked Ben really quick. I asked them if they had any quick questions and sent them out there. So we'll just do these really quickly. So for our Big Ten guys, so our Michigan guys, thoughts on Ohio State's win? What do you guys think of their win over Wisconsin?
They look nasty.
Yeah, they look legit. I do want to see them against like a rip roaring offense against that Knowles defense, but they looked every part to me. All three aspects of the game, they just tore it up.
It's looking like Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State right now.
Well,
this was for D4. I'm pretty sure. Is Texas Tech or Baylor the best team in Texas?
No, it's SMU.
So either
and these are quick, guys. These are quick. We gotta get
Pony up.
So either Notre Dame has the best defense since like Clemson 2018, or maybe Wisconsin has devolved each year a little bit. I just feel like Ohio State just being able to score at will, just whatever they wanted, just do whatever they wanted to do. I think that had a little bit to do with Wisconsin isn't the defensive, juggernaut that they might have been a few years ago. Maybe, I don't know, just a thought. But yeah, Ohio State looks terrifying. There's no doubt about that.
This is supposed to be fast, John. Okay.
That's it. I'm done.
Damn it, John.
All right, and then here we go. This one's going to probably be for you, Mr. ACC. Jordan, any thoughts about FSU?
Oh, they're good. I feel pretty. I mean, what do you want me to say? I mean, they're good. You watch them play; they are vastly improved. This is the best they've looked since
long time.
2016, maybe. You know, that team won the Orange Bowl. Jordan Travis is his progression as and I've always been a big Jordan Travis fan. So, you know, I'm a Clemson guy. You know, I'm not the hugest Florida State fan, but I've been a huge fan of Jordan Travis, and I thought he was one of the more undervalued quarterbacks in the country. And it's really good to see him really take that next step. He's been elite so far. I think he's leading the ACC in a lot of categories. QBR, he's making plays with his arm and his legs. The receivers, I think Mike Norvell has done a good job of kind of overhauling that wide receiver room. They look really good. The offensive line is in the best shape it's been in a very long time. And that defense is playing pretty lights out so far. So, you know, going into the season, you know, we were talking about, man, what should the expectations be for Florida State and Mike Norvell? Is making a bowl game the minimum? Is that where we need to be to really feel good about where it's going? But now, I think Florida State, you know, they could. I think eight plus wins is on the table at this point. And I think based on what I've seen out of some of the teams a lot of the teams on their schedule, I don't think there's a game they can't win. Even Clemson, you know, they won't be favored in that game, but it's in Doak Campbell. They played Clemson close last year. Could be a really interesting game. So I'm really impressed by Mike Norvell, and I think a lot of people were really down on him after after last season. But I think it takes time to really overhaul a culture, and I don't think a lot of people realized how dysfunctional that athletic department and that football program was when Jimbo left and when Willie Taggart was fired. They were in horrible shape, and Mike Norvell has, you know, it's been a slow grind and it's had its ups and downs, but it finally looks like that culture is starting to the fruits of that.
Jordan, I'm about to throw a flag for delay a game.
Yeah.
So Jordan and
5 yards.
Jordan, John, let me show you how this is done. Ready? Beavs or Utes? Games in Utah, correct? Salt Lake City? Utes. Yeah. Was a home be different? Tony, thoughts?
Same.
All right, that's
Sorry,
it.
I went a little long.
But I want to talk about the battle of the kickers in this game. See, on one team,
but if you look at the left side of the secondary versus the right side of the secondary, guys, we're just teasing, by the way. And for everybody listening, Jordan's a brilliant astrophysicist, and so we should all listen to what he says more.
Stop it.
True. He's usually right. Usually right.
Jeff, my head is exploding now. Bama, what we got going on this week?
Some cousin loving.
Oh, he's not there.
Okay, Bama is going to win.
There we go.
Whoa.
It's going to be a lot closer. It's going to probably look a lot like the Texas game.
There's the Tide guy, Mike. We were missing.
Just let it ride.
Okay, this will be better. No.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
That's better. That's better.
I don't know what you did, but it worked.
Bama will win, but it'll be like the Texas game. It's going to be close. I really believe that.
All right.
For prediction?
You're expecting to win. He's gone. Okay.
We lost you.
Well, I won't even touch. I don't think we have to touch much. Ducks have late Saturday night home game against Stanford. Unless the Stanford curse in the tree, thank you, Tony, curses us again, somehow we should have a good practice ourselves this week against
Respect the tree.
I fear the tree. But hopefully this year they have not looked good at all. Like at all. They're not even like good and then falling apart. They're just
they're probably the 11th worst team in the Pac-12, and we all know who 12 is. So that's
they're fighting Colorado and Arizona State right now. Colorado's still number 1, but they're fighting for that 2 spot at this moment, which is sad to say. So There was a key point.
Real quick, Connor, to answer your question, I think the Beavs lose this game. I don't know that they lose again.
Yeah, and if it wasn't at Rice Eccles, Connor, I would say that you guys have a legit shot. You have a legit team. I'm just saying that it's tough to go into Rice Eccles and beat Utah. I mean, everyone thinks they lost to Florida. All of a sudden, they're not a good team. They're a really good team.
Really
they're
good.
a great team at home.
And again, I don't know that they lose. Sorry to our UW friends. Sorry to our Duck friends. Oregon State could well win out the rest of their season. They're a really good team.
Yeah. Well, and also the Beavers just came off this heartbreaker. You never know how a team is going to respond the next week, especially on the road to a place like Utah.
But tune into the Pac-12 show. We'll talk more about this.
We'll talk way more about it.
It's going to be a great game, though. It's on the Pac-12 network, though. Damn it. So, all right, let's wrap this up. It's been our usual time. We always go overboard, as always. But everyone here, promote yourselves as fully as possible. Of course, drop links, comment on yourselves at all times. That's abided by. We have all the permissions we need. So let's go, Jeff. Jeff, promote yourself. Tell us
Hey,
about
you guys can find me at Tide Guy. I do videos Monday through Friday. I do a call-ins, and I'm usually on Discord with these guys. So join Patreon. If you're not in Patreon, you're really missing out.
Facts.
All right, Jeff. Appreciate you. John, let's go.
Check out D4 Sports' channel. My show will be on that in a couple days. Check out Twitter, John Diadamo. I'm also on this every week. Go Blue.
Will,
I think that's you.
What's up? Everyone, thanks for listening to us ramble on, guys. It was a lot of fun. You can find me at Will ND on YouTube. I do live stream and StreamYards, usually before Mark shows. It's a lot of fun, so just go in, hop in on the StreamYard, and we can talk some college football. I'm going to post a link in the chat.
There you go. Yeah, do it. Post. Everyone can post all their stuff in the chats. It's fine. If it can't come up, put it in a private chat here, and we'll post it for you. That way everyone has a direct link. Jordan, where can everyone find you if they want to stalk you?
Well, I always love my stalker fans, so that's greatly appreciated. Feel free to send me a DM on Twitter at Jobo0209. Give me a follow as well. Don't just DM me. That's weird. But I normally tweet about Clemson, but I also tweet about college football in general. I also do a show with D4 Sports, college football across America every Wednesday. Go live at around 8:30. So be sure to check that out. I'm also on the Clemson Voice of College Football channel. I do the live pre-games and live post-game shows with my man Tiger Paw Craven and some other fine gentlemen. So be sure to check that out if you want to see what's going on with the Clemson football program, what the fan base is thinking. And yeah, it's really fun. So make sure you guys check that out. And once again, thank you guys for listening.
All right. Well, you stole D4's thunder a little bit, but D4, what you got?
Oh man, you can check me out at my OnlyFans at Big Guy 4482.
Yeah, I'm posting D4's OnlyFans.
Lots of original content.
Lots of original content.
It's all my feet. No, I'm just kidding. D4 Sports on YouTube, the D4 Sports on Twitter. Do live shows, do weekly preview and reviews for Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame, Clemson, USC, Oregon, Texas. If you want your team on there, we'll do it. Appreciate everybody watching. You'll see me on Mark Rogers Texas postgame after show or post-game shows. And join that Patreon. Come in and chop it up with us. Definitely, enjoy meeting new people and talking college football. So y'all head on over and do that. And I'm out.
There we go. That's how you do it. Dustin, what you got?
Oh, I ain't got nothing. I have no channels. I'm just here as a knucklehead, like Mark likes to call us. So support everybody here. Get on Patreon. It's a great time. We get on Discord. We talk. It's fun. I love it. Knuckleheads, let's do it.
Mark still disputes that title, but he said it twice, and so I've just rolled with it. Now he can't get away from it. Tim, what we got over there for the USC guys?
We have on Wednesday night 7:30. You could join Tony and Chris and me and a bunch of other Pac-12 refugees talking about Pac-12 football, and then you can find Tony, Rick, and myself after the USC games on the USC post-game chat. If you have any questions for me, go ahead. You can send those questions, DM the questions to me on Twitter. That'd be the most helpful, best way.
Tony, we know you got it. We know you have a Twitter account.
I have a Twitter account. You guys can reach me, TJ Altimore. It's in the chat. Love to chat with you guys, and we love to chat with you guys on our Pac-12 show and our USC post-game shows. And we're trying to bring you guys some other fun guests. Like coming up, we've got the Chancellor of Washington State for a CEO chat to actually talk to the real head of a university about what matters to them and how they run their athletic department. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So it's always great to have you guys. We got so many familiar faces. Thank you all so much. And most importantly, thanks for spending some time with us tonight.
Let's get Tony verified.
Hey, and I would like to say about Tim and Tony, their Pac-12 show, you do not have to be a Pac-12 fan to be on that show. They accept everybody. And even if you're not a Pac-12 fan, those two and their guests will tell you and teach you a lot about the Pac-12. There's a lot of knowledge you will learn.
That's really nice. The last thing we want to be is an echo chamber. So, yeah, we really like hearing outside criticisms, as well as if you have any positive comments, which usually don't come from the rest of the country, but maybe this year the narrative may change.
I can relate there.
Except shirtless. They said I couldn't come shirtless.
Yeah,
that's true.
No shoes, no shirts, no service, D4.
No,
that's for the OnlyFans.
D4, that's the after
that's for the OnlyFans.
That's the after party.
For free?
Well, once again, appreciate everyone spending the time here tonight. Not just the panel here, but everyone in the chat. I have the weird name Exploring Ben Sam. I'm Ben. We don't promote it that much, but we will. I saw one scoop drop in the chat. I love that. So you can find us, myself and Sam, here on YouTube and Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, all the other crap that you can think of.
Ooh, Reddit?
We try to do that too. It happens. You got to do what you got to do. So we will be here, though. As Tony and Tim said, check them out Wednesday night with the Pac-12 show. They will do the USC postgame show. I will do the Oregon postgame show. Jordan and D4 are doing their own stuff. D4 especially has his own channel and the Texas show. Will, John, everyone's involved here. And that makes this whole community so much better. But check us here next Sunday night, same time, 10:45 Eastern, for another version of CFP After Dark. And we appreciate you all for being here. And you guys have a great rest of your night. And until next week, fight on, quack, quack. Go slap, slap, beaver, horn down.
Roll Tide.
Wolverine, whatever noise that is. And elephant noise.
Hey, Tony. Tony, go Chemics.
You could have said a Go Tigers or something. Okay, yeah, this is the anti.
Yeah, we were.
Chargers.
We were left out.